Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to section 11.6, Adding and Subtracting Rational Expressions, Part 2. Let's begin again with a fraction. Now notice both of their denominators. Both of their denominators are not the same. So what do we have to get the denominators to? We have to find the least common multiple, or the common denominator, correct? Well, what's the least common multiple between 6 and 4? That's going to be 12. So we have to get both of these numbers to 12. Well, what can I take times 6 to be 12? I have to take that times 2. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. And then what do I have to do over here? How do I get this 4 to be 12? I have to take that times 3. And what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So now our new fractions are 2 over 12 plus 9 over 12. And so now we have the same bottom we can add right across the top, which is going to be 11 over 12, or 11 twelfths for our final answer. Now, when we are asked to find the sum or difference between two rational expressions, we have to do the same thing. We have to find the least common multiple, which we worked on yesterday, or the common denominator. So here, looking at 1, first things first, we have to find our least common multiple or the common denominator. Well, I have a d and a d squared. How do I find that? Remember yesterday with the common denominator, we went d squared. That equals d times d, and d is just a d. So we need both of these d's for our common denominator. So our common denominator is going to be d squared. Well, I already have a d squared here, so I don't need to multiply anything here. But here, I do need a d, and so what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So now, all of this is going to go over d squared, and now here I have 4d cubed, and now from this guy, I'm just adding plus d plus 2, and that is it. We find the common denominator, we add them up, and that is our simplified expression. So with 2, same situation, we have to find the common denominator first. So we look at the denominator. Look at this guy. Can we factor this at all? Can we break it down? Well, I can take a 4 and a 4 out, so it's going to be 4 times k plus 2, and then I look over here, it's just k plus 2, so I can't do anything with it. So what's my common denominator going to be? Notice I have a k plus 2 in both, so I'm going to include a k plus 2. Then I also have this 4 sticking out here, so I'm going to multiply it times 4. So my common denominator is 4 times k plus 2. So looking at this denominator right here, do I have everything of the common denominator? Yes, I do. Now looking at this denominator, do I have everything from my common denominator? I have the k plus 2, but I do not have the 4, so I need to take this guy times 4, and what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So our common denominator, which I'm going to put on the bottom, is 4 times k plus 2 from this guy. This guy does not change. I didn't have to multiply anything to it, so it's just 7. But this guy had to take times 4, so it's going to be plus 4 times k. And now you can leave it like this. I'm going to clean it up just a little bit. I'm going to put that 4k in front, so it's just going to be 4k plus 7 all over 4 times k plus 2. And I'm not going to multiply this 4 through, because later on you might be able to simplify something, so I'm just going to say that is the answer for right now. Same with 3. So we look at 3, y minus 3. Can we factor that in any way? No, we cannot. How about this guy? Well, we have to multiply up to negative 12, add up to 1. So that's going to be a y minus 3 and a y plus 4, because they multiply to a negative 12, add up to a positive 1. So my common denominator, I have y minus 3 here, y minus 3 here. So that has to go in my common denominator. And I also have a y plus 4, so I need a y plus 4 in there. So my common denominator is now right here. So if I look here, do I have all of my common denominator? I have y plus 3, but I do need a y plus 4. So what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Do I need anything over here? I do not. So let's bring down that common denominator, which is y minus 3 and y plus 4. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can multiply it out here, but I'm going to show you that we have to go y and take that times, what are we multiplying to it? Y plus 4, and then we have a minus 2 from this guy, so it's minus 2. Now we can clean up this red, so it's going to be y squared plus 4y, and then we have minus 2. And I'm going to leave the bottom as is, just in case we can factor later and cancel out. So it's y minus 3 times y plus 4. We cannot factor this, so then this is our simplified rational expression. With 4, it's the same situation. Now, can we factor this? We're trying to look for the common denominator. Can we factor that? Well, we have to multiply up to 9, add up to a negative 6. So I can factor this into x minus 3 and x minus 3. I can't factor anything over here. So our common denominator, here and here we have 1x minus 3. We also need another guy, and that's going to be x minus 3. So our common denominator is going to be x minus 3 times x minus 3. What do I need here? Do I need anything here? I do not. Do I need something here? I have 1x minus 3, but I have to multiply another one there. So now I am going to put my common denominator down here, which is x minus 3 and x minus 3. Bring down my x plus 7 because I didn't have to touch it, plus this, now I'm going to put in red because I'm going to change this. X plus 3 times x minus 3. Now, please remember, we're going to put a couple things together. Remember that we have to FOIL this. We have to distribute all those terms. So carrying some numbers down, I'm going to have x plus 7 plus now an x squared minus 3x plus 3x minus 9. We just FOILed this out. That goes over x minus 3 times x minus 3. So let's clean some of that up. This and this will cancel out. This will combine with this, and then we just have a couple terms left over. So final answer goes, we have an x squared plus an x, and then we simplify those two to get minus 2. And what does that all go over? That's all going to go over x minus 3 times x minus 3 for our simplified rational expression. Here again with 5. We need a common denominator. Be very careful, ladies and gentlemen. This looks tough. This looks like you can just put a plus 1 here, but you can't, because you can't just add something like that to the top. So our common denominator now is going to be b, and then b plus 1. So what do I have here in my denominator that I need from my common denominator? I need a b. So I'm going to take this top and bottom times b. Then here, what do I need from my common denominator? I need a b plus 1. So I need a b plus 1 right there. So my common denominator is b times b plus 1. Now I'm going to write everything out here. We need to multiply these two together. So it is b plus 1 times b plus 3, and then plus b minus 5 times b. Now it's going to test all your math skills. Let's FOIL this out, distribute this out to come up with b squared, and then plus 3b plus b, and then this times this plus 3, and then also we have to distribute that b, so it's going to be a plus b squared minus 5b. Finally, let's go ahead and clean this up. We have this and this being added together, so it's going to be a 2b squared. We have all of this plus all of this to make a negative b. And then finally we have this little guy plus 3 hanging around. What's that go over? Your common denominator of b times b plus 1. Simplified right here. One more, hang in there, guys. Again, first thing we try to find is our common denominator. Looking at your denominators with your numbers, what's going to be common between a 3 and a 5? That's going to be 15. How many t's do we need? We need them both, so it's going to be t squared. So what do I have to take times this denominator to get the common denominator? I need to multiply the number times 3. Do I need any variables? I do not. So take the top and bottom times 3. And then over here, 3, how do I get 3 to be 15? I need to take that times 5. How do I get the t to be t squared? I need a t, so it's going to be times 5t on top. So here we go. We have 3 times 6. That's going to be minus, be very careful with this minus sign, ladies and gentlemen, minus 2 times 5t over the common denominator of 15t squared. Let's multiply things together. This is going to be 18 minus 10t. That all goes over 15t squared. And this is your simplified answer. Now, ladies and gentlemen, go step by step. First, find your common denominator, and then look at the bottom of each rational expression and see what their denominator needs to get to the common denominator. Then you multiply both the top and bottom by that number, and then it turns into what you did yesterday. Follow the process and you will be fine. And that does it for section 11.6, adding and subtracting rational expressions, part 2. Good day.